Good evening and welcome to Family Table Thursdays. We are so excited that you are joining us. Very excited. And we ask that you would like or share this Family Thursday tables. And we want to invite you to purchase your copy of Bonded Love today by visiting our website, www.damonpauljohnson.com/resources, and pick up my latest book, Bonded Love, How God's Love Shines Through Imperfect Relationships. We take you through broken relationships and situations in the Bible, revealing just how God's love shines through, how he shows how God's love is so powerful to restore, to renew, to revive relationships that you're going through. Relationships go through stress, storms, and struggles. Whether the relationship is physically, spiritually, financially, emotionally, or psychologically flawed, there is something in this book that will help you to strengthen and equip you in any relationship, whether it is parent, child, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, brother and sister, friend, a next or an ex. There is something you can benefit from. So I ask you to purchase it. If you've already purchased it, a book, and discovered it has been a blessing to you, pick one up for someone, make it a gift. There are some who have gifted the book to others, which is absolutely awesome, and thankful for that. So it's been a blessing to your life. Order one for your friend, for your family member, so they too can be blessed by it. We are excited today to have Brother Sam and Sister Yolanda Caldwell, long-term members of Metropolitan New Testament Mission Baptist Church, and they are both parents, been married for several years, and we are excited to have them on this evening. Very, very excited. I've been looking forward to this for some weeks. I'm telling you, I've been looking forward to it. So I'm raring and ready to go. First of all, I want to thank both of you for consenting to come on and to share some of your story, that it may be a blessing to those who are watching, those who may be married, those who are seeking and searching and want to find someone, but are struggling with that. And so how that can be of blessing. So let me just welcome both of you on to Family Table Thursdays, and thank you again for being on. We are excited. You please feel free to like or share. Please feel free to write comments in the chat. In a few minutes, we're going to ask for some questions that you'll be able to ask the Caldwells as well. So stay on and like and share and promote what we are doing, because it's going to be awesome and a great conversation that I know is going to be a blessing to some of you out there. First of all, how long have you been married, and how long did you date before you were engaged?
So I'll answer the marriage question, and Yolanda will answer the dating question.
All right.
Um, so we've been married for 30 years and 5 months, and still enjoying being married very much.
30 years. Okay.
And
Wow.
Pastor, we dated for 7 years before we got married and before we got
All right.
engaged.
So you got engaged. Okay. Now, what was the attraction?
So I guess I'll answer for me. Yolanda's a very beautiful woman. So enough said.
Okay. All right. Enough said. We're gonna leave it right there. Okay.
I think for us, we spent time getting to know each other.
Okay.
And even though when we first met each other, it was immediate attraction. So it's not like we were friends first and then we decided to date. From the time that we started interacting with each other, it was from that perspective.
Mhm.
But we developed a friendship over that time, and we saw each other through some tough times. And I think those are the things that helped create the bond of our relationship. While the relationship started because of mutual attraction to each other, the friendship developed out of that.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Now, how did you meet?
Oh man. We used to live across the street from one another when we were really little, really young children.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay.
our parents were friends. Our fathers were very close friends.
Okay.
And at some point, their house, which was across the street from ours, burned down. And when they moved away, we just kind of fell out of contact with one another. My father and her father would still interact, and I would see her dad would stop by every now and again. But Yolanda and I didn't see each other for, oh my goodness, maybe 15 years.
15 years.
Okay.
And my sister and I went to the old neighborhood one day, and we ran into Sam. And my sister used to babysit Sam and his brother.
Okay.
So they connected and they reminisced. But Sam and I, because we hadn't seen each other since we were toddlers or whatever, we didn't really know each other. So that was the first time that we had seen each other as young adults. And as much as I didn't want to tell the story, I guess I'll, briefly share. It was a very brief encounter, and we ran into each other another time, which was another brief encounter. And I remember coming home and talking to my mom and said, "Hey, I saw Sam Caldwell today." And she goes, "Well, how's his wife and kids?" And I was like, "Wife and what are you?" And I was like, "Not the father, the son."
Oh.
And exactly, because Sam is named after his father.
Okay.
So we talked. My mom and I talked about it a little bit, and I ended up. Yes, I'm going to admit this. I ended up. So for those of you, some people may not even remember this, but there was a thing called phone books, where like paper phone books. And I actually looked his phone number up in the phone book and called him.
Okay. All right. Now, Sam, what was that? What was that call like? What did you think when you got the call?
I intrigued. I'm thinking, okay, somebody went through some effort to do this.
Yeah,
because
dog. This is good. This isn't on the sheet, so I can just kind of
you
talk.
wouldn't
This is
necessarily think
organic.
that someone would go through the trouble of trying to look you up. And I guess today with social media, it may not be as much of an undertaking, but then phone books were published by where you lived. And so she lived in one community, I lived in another community. So I was not in her local phone book. So
I got you.
that suggested that, okay.
Some investigation was going.
Yes.
Some investigating.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So tell me about the conversation. How did it go?
It was a pretty brief conversation, but it was a very impactful conversation. And following when she and I spoke, which was really, hi, how are you? It was really good to see you. We saw each other twice within a pretty short period of time. So I'm thinking, in retrospect, Lord, thank you. But at the time, I'm thinking, okay, this is just coincidence or happenstance. And I can look back on it now and see it was the hand of God moving in our lives.
Mm. So, Sam, when did you know that Yolanda was the one? When did that settle with you?
I think I was having a conversation with a very close friend, and um, he suggested that he said, you know what, probably a good idea to just fill up the tank and just drive and just talk. And you'll have a sense of what this really is by the time you run out of things to talk about. So we left New Jersey and just drove north and ended up in South Norwalk, Connecticut. Never been there before, never been there since. But
Okay.
that's where we
Okay.
were when we just about ran out of gas. And we were still
Oh,
talking.
okay. Okay.
And I'm thinking, you know what? We're talking about likes and dislikes and dreams and what it is we like to accomplish, what we envision our futures to look like, you know, going to school and some of the challenges associated with that because we were still in school at the time. So it was just a really good opportunity to get a sense of how much we share or don't share.
Hmm. I got
And
you.
yeah, you mentioned in the lead up to the conversation, Pastor and Bonded Love, that there are some things in here that will there's some strengthen you and something that will equip you. And for any couples who are in stages of dating or interested and, maybe intrigued and then liking and then loving, you're going to need to be strengthened and equipped. So if you have not picked up your copy of this book yet,
Mm.
do yourself a favor and please do so.
Thank you. Now, Yolanda, what made Sam different from previous relationships or experiences? What prompted you to call? What made him different? What made him stand out?
What prompted me to call it was a little bit of a dare.
Okay.
I
Okay.
was a teenager and a young adult teenager, and I was trying to express my independence. And having a conversation with my godmother and my mother, we were just conversating about relationships and how young women show up in the world and what it means to be a woman, and how do you know that you're a woman. And I didn't like the conversation. I felt very challenged during the conversation. And I was talking to my god sister about it. And I was like, I need to show them that I'm independent, that, I can take responsibility and that I'm a leader and those type of things. So we were just talking. And the fact that I had saw Sam that day, and I was like, I saw this guy and I thought he looked good. And, that was the second time that I seen him. And I wanted to get to know him more. And my god sister said, well, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't know. This is before cell phones, and social media and all of that. And it was like, I don't know how to get in contact with him. She was like, well, what do you know about him? I said, well, I know his name. And so, she helped me reach out. And so for me, I was looking to exert my independence from my mom and to demonstrate that, I was a woman. That was the way that I was going to do it. And, as Sam said, while the circumstance was different, the outcome was amazing.
Wow.
Because I was raised in the South, and one of the things that we were taught, is that young ladies don't chase men. We were raised in the church, so it was like, the man that finds a wife finds a good thing. So, he is supposed to find you, that type of thing. Your responsibility is to, develop yourself and be active in the things that you're interested in and, live your life. And as you're doing those things, you will come across the person who God has destined for you. So with that being the backdrop of my life, me calling him first was, a sign of rebellion. Like, I'm going to step out, I'm going to do something and exert my independence. One of the jokes with us is like, after we dated for a couple of months, he was like, I don't understand something. And I was like, what? He says, I always have to call you. Like, you never call me. And I was like, I was raised that's not, young ladies, do not conduct themselves in that manner. And he says, well, I find that very ironic because you were the one who called me first. But
he found you. You just helped him in where he should look. He still found you. He found you.
But the thing that attracted me to him is that he was a gentleman. He conducted himself as a gentleman. He treated me with respect. I felt very safe when we were together, covered. I felt listened to. Things that I was interested in, I could see it show. Like if I said something, I will see it show up in other ways. So I found that it also helped that we had similar family backgrounds. So when we were talking, we were able to relate to each other, rather easily.
Awesome. Now, yes. Now, how were your experiences leading up to engagement in the marriage? How has that helped you through some of the bumps and humps of your marriage over the 30 years? I guess I'm 37 years, in your relationship.
Yeah, I think, Pastor, expectations, how frequently they're unspoken, and we enter into relationships, and we have these expectations. And I think one thing that kind of prepared us is that we spent quite a bit of time talking. So before we were presented with knowing we were going to be parents, we had talked about being parents. We had talked about whether we wanted children. What does that look like? What does that look like for you, rearing children, disciplining children? The conversations we're having at this stage in our lives, have kind of transitioned into conversations that you would expect from a couple who's been together for some time. So, now we're having conversations about, health, more conversations about health and wellness, and what did that look like in our lives as we're more mature in years. What does our next residence look like? And when we talk about just the different stages of life, you're going to find yourself there. And what we found just working in marriage ministry is that many couples begin to really have conversations in earnest once they're confronted with the issue. And it would be so much more helpful to just talk about things in advance. You don't have to be a perfect person to know you're going to deal with times of financial stress. You're going to deal with times of financial plenty. You're going to deal with times when it's important to have credit. You're going to be in positions where the water heater is going to break. So when you deal with those things, those stressors, it doesn't define the relationship to be in positions of stress. It's more of a defining of the relationship relative to how you engage with one another through that, because it's either going to pull you, apart, and you have to be determined to be together that seasons during marriage.
And one of the things that, now we have seen the fruit of those conversations, but we talked about when we got together, like during our engagement, we talked about what we wanted that first year of marriage to look like. So we made some tough decisions around our wedding, financial decisions around our wedding, because we didn't want to be financially strapped when we got married. So we constantly always kind of thought ahead. So even early in our marriage, we talked about retirement. What do we want retirement to look like? how old did we want to be when we retired? What,
Okay.
what kind of things did we want to have access to?
Sure.
So we constantly lived in the moment, had our feet planted in reality, but with looking forward.
I like that. I like that. That's very good to be forward thinking. You both of you give leadership to our marriage ministry. You do premarital counseling and spiritual direction, and even for those who may be struggling in marriage or wants just some kind of coaching, you do that very well. What would you say to those who may be looking to be married and who may have not made that phone call or have found the one that they're looking for, but desire it and are kind of they're in a hurry, but it seems like God isn't. What would you say to that person who may be watching?
I would say that until you're in that place, you're in a season of preparation, even if
Okay.
you may not want to be in a season of preparation.
Okay.
Before you can make dinner, you have to get to the supermarket or the farmer's market. But before you get to the farmer's market, you have to have bus fare or gas your car up. So
Okay.
there are different things that you need to do for yourself first, to ensure that, being married doesn't mean you're in a good marriage. And there are plenty of people who are married. Do the necessary work to put yourself in a position so that you're in a marriage that's healthy and thriving and strong and is a reflection of what God had in mind when he decided to put Adam and Eve together. A question that we typically will ask couples when they're getting married, and it's common for couples not to necessarily have an answer, and we don't think it's a bad thing, but we will challenge and ask, why is God putting you together? We serve a perfect God who can do whatever he wants to do. What is the unique thing that he wants to do as a result of bringing the two of you together? And I think when couples start having those kind of conversations, it kind of takes the perspective off of the me and more on, okay, how can we grow this relationship into something that gives God glory?
And the other, as individuals are preparing for whatever life has for them, it's very important that they focus on their relationship with God and strengthen that, because that is what's going to hold them together.
Mm-hmm.
It's people go into relationships thinking that their partner, clinging to their partner and doing that work with their partner is what's going to strengthen their marriage and keep their marriage together. And I think we agree the secret sauce is our personal relationship with God.
Wow.
Because God is what keeps you in your marriage. Because there are times where it's like, I don't know. I'm out. And one of the things we say, when we're coaching couples is you really get married 3 times. And they look at us like, what are you talking about? You get married 3 times. The first time is when you make up in your mind that you're going to be committed to this individual, even though you don't have a ring or anything like that, but you make that decision that this is my person. That's that first marriage, that first commitment, where you throw away the black book, you delete numbers out of your phone when you do that, and you really commit. That's the first. The second time is when you do it publicly. You go through the ceremony, whatever ceremony you do. But there's another time, because even though at the altar you say, till death do us part, divorce is not an option. You make all of those declarations. The reality is there is something or some things that your partner can do that will make you want to get a divorce.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's reality. That's just what it is. It's not until you go through that season of considering divorce, no matter how far it goes, and after that season where you really look at each other and you make that true declaration, you know what? No matter what happens, we're going to work this out. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the third one.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to face it.
I guess that's the I really do.
I really do.
I really do.
Up until then,
that's
it's, you
good.
know, I mean,
I
people
got
at
you.
the altar is like, you know, I don't know. And that's what we try to tell people. You're scared, you're nervous, but you got to go through some things before you really, really know that you're committed.
Yeah. Just to let you know, some of the comments are, you know, Yolanda, I love your honesty. They're saying, I love your honesty. Y'all keeping it real. If you have any questions for Sam or Yolanda, please feel free to write them in the chat, and we will take as many as we have time for. We have a few minutes for a couple of questions, so please feel free to write them in the chat. And this is so helpful. I know people are being helped as I'm looking at the comments. Now, there's a lot of help. A lot of people are laughing. People are enjoying the conversation, are benefiting from. Someone mentioned that their honeymoon didn't start until year 3, when they got over the hump of really, you know, this is real. Yeah.
Oh, I can attest to that. When we came off, when we were getting off our honeymoon, I think it was like our last day, and I looked at him and he looked at me, and I said, "So who's gonna make the bed? Like when we get back, somebody has to make the bed, because this whole time somebody else has been making the bed. So how is that going to work? Like, you know, those kind of things. Yeah, really. Yep.
Yeah.
That's real stuff. That's real talk. That's real talk. That's real talk.
For any couples who haven't talked about conflict yet, Yolanda and I have what we refer to as rules of engagement. Like, we're going to spend time up front talking about what disagreement looks like. And I will say that the overwhelming majority of conflict that we navigate through, the overwhelming majority of arguments that we have, don't involve anyone raising their voice. Nobody's slamming doors. No one's walking out on one another. So it may make sense to because conflict is coming, to talk through what that looks like. You know, but we're firm believers, and we've said this even in marriage ministry sessions. We don't attack issues. Well, we don't attack one another. We attack.
I got you. Mm-hmm.
So
wow, that's good. That's
in attacking the issue, you don't attack your spouse or their personhood. And when you disagree, it's not all bets are off. You don't treat your spouse like someone in the street. You know, we're not calling each other out of our names. We're not doing that. You know, the issue is the issue. And we've done, I think, a pretty good job of trying to keep the issue the issue. Mm-hmm. So if Yolanda's frustrated with me about something, whatever it may be, like, it's out of bounds. It violates what we've agreed, how we've agreed to engage one another, for me to bring up the fact that she didn't run the dishwasher or she didn't do something else. You know, we have to keep the conversation on the issue at hand.
And when, you know, just like in any sporting event, mm-hmm. If somebody breaks the rule, you have the, you know, you can be the referee and say, wait a minute, that's out of bounds. We got to bring it back. So I don't want to leave anybody with the impression that, you know, we have these perfect arguments and it's like, okay, your turn. Like, you know, it doesn't necessarily get like that. But we do have the rule book that we can, you know, bring the heat down and, you know, keep it focused on the issue. And one of the things that Sam said that I think is really important is, you know, while we may break some of the other rules, the main rule that we do not break, and I'm very happy about that, is we do keep it about the issue. We do not attack each other's personhood.
Wow, that's powerful. That's good. That's good stuff. In the book Bonded Love, there's a chapter called Love's Power Over All Things. We talk about how, regardless of what the challenge or the issue may be, that love really has the power to have victory. What would you say are some of the things that help in the longevity of your marriage, 30 years? What is it that has helped you to keep going? Maybe a challenge in year 8 or year 17 or year 27, but now you're here 30 years. What has helped you to kind of demonstrate that chapter, love's power over all things?
I think relationships tend to move at the speed of trust. So for the trust it takes for me to know that Yolanda's going to live up to her wedding vows is not something that I spend a lot of time worried about. There are not enough phone calls, there are not enough text messages that you can send to keep your spouse faithful to you. That's a choice and a decision that they need to make. Okay. So that would probably be one thing.
And then I would say the other thing that kept us together for the 30 years is our individual relationship with God and our belief and faith that the other person had a relationship with God.
Yes.
So like there would be times where I could not effectively communicate something that was going on with me and how it was impacting our relationship. But through my prayer life and through praying, I could tell that Sam had also been praying and sensitive, because the conversation would come up and then we would be able to talk about it. Awesome. So that personal relationship, laughter, we do laugh a lot.
A lot. So someone has asked the question, how do you keep your marriage happy after being together for 30 years? How do you keep it exciting? How do you keep it happy?
You keep it happy?
How do you keep it from getting stale and boring? How do you keep it?
Oh, that's all me.
Oh, it's all you? Okay.
All right. I got ideas on top of ideas on top of ideas. All right. Sometimes he's like, all right, okay. But I must say, you have this, the last two things were your ideas. The things that we're doing were your ideas. So he's catching on. He's coming up with some good ideas too. But it's really about just trying new things, I think.
Yeah. I mean, being open. I mean, even if it's just going out and exploring, new recipes, exploring new interests, things that you haven't considered doing before. I realize that we're pretty deep into the conversation time-wise, but one thing I'll offer is, Yolanda kind of helped to spur for me, an appreciation for performing arts. So I guess not something that I really had a big thing for, but she enjoys going to theater and the like. And as a result of being open, it kind of sparked something for me that I didn't know that I loved because I just hadn't been exposed to it.
That's exciting.
But trusting her, back to that whole trust thing.
Trust, yes.
She's not inviting me to go because she's trying to change me or conform me to what she wants me to be. She's trying to share something with me that she enjoys.
Awesome.
And I think the other part is respecting. I think sometimes people go into relationships thinking that their spouse is supposed to be their everything. And Sam and I respect the fact that we're still individuals. And just as we find things that we like to do in common, there are some things that we like to do that the other person may not enjoy. But we don't I don't keep him from doing something that he enjoys because I don't like to do it. He does it with people who he enjoys doing that activity with. So being able to go out and experience life as individuals and then bringing that back gives you something to talk about. Like if you did everything together and experienced everything together, it's like, what are we going to talk about? I was there. I did it too. So being open to that.
That's good. That's good. Well, thank you all, both of you, so much for being on. Thank everyone who is watching on tonight. Again, we encourage you to pick up your copy of Bonded Love, How God's Love Shines Through Imperfect Relationships. You can go to www.damonepauljohnson.com/resources. Our next Family Table Thursday will be Thursday, February the 9th. So please make a note of that. We're going to take a short break and then we will come back on the 9th dealing with friendships. All right. So that's going to be a good discussion on that. So again, thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Just know that God has a purpose for you and that God loves you, that God has made a decision to love you. God has made a conscious decision to infuse, to bond his love to you. That is God's decision. That is God's choice. that he has made. And for those who may be watching who have not chosen him and who has not received that love, I encourage you to do that today, to receive that love by inviting him into your heart, inviting him into your life today. Thank you so much again, Sam and Yolanda. We have an exciting, that's it, seal it with a kiss, that's it. And we have an exciting marriage ministry that they give leadership to. So we encourage you to connect with them about some of the events and some of the, in fact, I believe they're going to be walking through the book Bonded Love as a marriage ministry through the chapters in it in the coming weeks and months. So look forward to that and those announcements to come out real soon. Have a wonderful evening. God bless. Talk with you.